This is Unit 1, Video 5. This video is going to take a look at salutary neglect and the Great Awakening. Starting in the 1720s and lasting until 1763, which is going to be the end of the French and Indian War, the colonies entered into a period of salutary neglect, or another word for salutary is beneficial. England believed the colonies would be more economically productive if they were not restrained by things such as the Navigation Acts. The Navigation Acts were a series of laws in the 1600s that limited the freedom of trade that the colonies had. So England believed that by removing these things, the colonies would actually be more productive and that they and the colonies would benefit. The colonies loved this period of freedom. They came to expect this ability to really rule themselves. They had a lot of self-government, as we'll see in this video as well, and this period of salutary neglect is really to thank for that. And as you can imagine, when salutary neglect comes to an end, there's going to be big-time trouble in the colonies, and that's going to be kind of a precursor and a little foreshadowing for the American Revolution. The question you have there on your notes asks you what salutary neglect was, and then how did the colonists feel about this policy? Well, the colonists absolutely love salutary neglect. They thrive under this system, and so again, just to reiterate what salutary neglect was, it was this time when the crown, when Britain relaxed control of the colonies, when they pulled back the trading restrictions on them, and both the colonies and England were able to flourish in this time period. We're also going to take a look at colonial self-governance in this era. Largely because of salutary neglect, this is a possibility for the colonists. Self-government varied. It was different depending on which colony you were in. In Virginia, the House of Burgesses was established as the first representative legislature in the New World. So the House of Burgesses is significant for that fact. It's the first representative legislature in the New World. This body, the House of Burgesses, had the ability to tax and to pass laws in the colony. If we look in New England, town meetings were often how they had their form of self-government. They met regularly and they directly voted on public issues. They didn't elect people as the House of Burgesses. They met in town meetings and all the men would vote individually. Now, voting was largely restricted to white landowning males. That's not just in New England, that's throughout the colonies. So that was something that was only for adult white landowning males. Now, as we mentioned a little bit ago, when salutary neglect comes to an end, they're going to lose this ability of self-government. And that's going to be a major issue leading up to the American Revolution. Here's a picture of the House of Burgesses in Virginia that you can visit today. So the question here for self-government: what were the two methods of self-government in the early years of the colonies? We saw town meetings, and we also saw representative legislatures. So where people vote for people to represent their interests. That's what we have today in the United States with Congress. We vote for people to go and represent our interests. And then they also have town meetings, which you individually go and vote. The last thing we'll look at here is the Great Awakening. This is the first Great Awakening. There's going to be a second Great Awakening later on in the standards. So this is the first one. It's a religious revival that swept through the colonies during the 1740s, and it was called the Great Awakening. This movement stressed a reliance not on oneself, so not on individuals like the Enlightenment had, but this put an emphasis on God. It swept all over the colonies, and it brought unity to the colonies. They found a lot of common ground in the Great Awakening. And one of the most famous preachers of this time was Jonathan Edwards, and his, I guess, the most famous sermon you could say of that period is called "Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God." Here's a picture, a rendering. I believe this is supposed to be George Whitefield, and then a copy of Edwards' sermon that we mentioned. People would come from all over to hear these sermons. Benjamin Franklin once came, and a guy asked him, he said, "You don't even believe this, why are you here?" And Benjamin Franklin said, "I may not believe it," he said, "but that guy really does." So they were very powerful speakers and very influential. So questions here on the Great Awakening. Why was the Great Awakening an important event in the colonies? It brought unity to the colonies. And as we're going to see in the next question, it's also going to take focus off of something else. So it's going to put focus on God, and it's going to bring colonial unity. And then your next question asks how the Great Awakening challenged traditional authorities. As people became more religious, as they put more of an emphasis on God, they took more emphasis off of the king. And so those traditional authorities that the Great Awakening challenged, like the Church of England, who the king was the head of, and the king himself, the de-emphasizing of those two institutions are going to culturally pull people further away from them, and are also going to be major lead-ups and causes for the American Revolution. All right, that's all of Unit 1.